We are going to be tapping on imposter syndrome today. And imposter syndrome is this fear of feeling like you are a fraud, a fear of being caught out in some way. So you might be relatively successful in your business, you might be amongst your peers and kind of thinking like you are the odd one out, like someone is going to catch you out, they're going to discover something about you, they're going to ask you a question and you don't know the answer. And it's that fear that everything is just going to kind of come tumbling down around you. A lot of it is tied up with fear of failure, tied up with self-doubt as well. And I do have another tapping video on self-doubt if that might be useful for you. But imposter syndrome generally can just make you feel a bit rubbish. So we're going to be tapping on that today. So before we get started then, I just want you to close your eyes and perhaps think of an instance recently where you felt like imposter syndrome was coming up for you. So maybe it's because you saw someone else doing really well and all of a sudden you thought, oh God, like that's not me, I haven't done that. Someone's going to catch me out. It could be something else. Whatever it is, just kind of go into that space and think about those feelings. And I want you to rate the intensity of emotion on a scale of 1 to 10. So 10 is, oh my God, like I had this feeling of imposter syndrome and I wanted to run away and hide and it was really awful and I don't want to do my business anymore. Down to 0, which is, I have no imposter syndrome. I am perfectly worthy and deserving of being here just as much as anyone else. So just rate your number, make a mental note of it or write it down somewhere. Okay, and then we're going to check in again at the end. So we're going to take a couple of nice deep breaths to start with. So just place your hand on your chest here, nice and firmly, and breathe in nice and deeply through the nose, taking that breath all the way down to the tummy and holding, and then breathing out. And then one more, breathing in through the nose, all the way down to the tummy, holding it, and then breathing out, and then tapping on the karate chop point. Even though I have this imposter syndrome and I feel like a fraud sometimes, and I think to myself, who do I think I am? I love and accept myself. Even though sometimes I think, if only I was more experienced or if I get more qualifications, then I'll be good enough. I'm open to accepting that this isn't necessarily the truth of how things really are. Even though this imposter syndrome sometimes stops me in my tracks, makes me want to run away, makes me want to not work on my business anymore, I choose to deeply and completely love, honour and accept myself. And then that's the eyebrow point. Oh, this imposter syndrome. Side of the eye. Who do I think I am? Under the eye. I'm not as good as all the others. The others have got it all together. Under the nose. This fear of being called out, of being called a fraud. Chin point. What if someone questions me or does call me out? Collarbone point. I'm just so scared of being put on the spot or getting stuck. Under the arm. Sometimes I just feel like quietly stepping back. Top of the head, and it just feels too hard to overcome it. Eyebrow point. Oh, this imposter syndrome. Side of the eye. All this fear of being caught out. Under the eye. And what is this inner narrative saying to me when this comes up? Under the nose. Who do you think you are? Chin point. You're going to get called out. Collarbone point. You don't deserve to be here. Under the arm, there's no point in trying, you'll only fail. And you can say anything else here about what that inner narrative is saying to you. Top of the head. But today I choose to be compassionately curious about this imposter syndrome and what it's all about. Eyebrow point. When did I first think that I'm not as good as everyone else, or that I don't deserve the same things that everyone else has or does? Side of the eye. Maybe there's part of me that just wants to do things really well, or be perfect. Under the eye. And if I'm not perfect, what does that mean? Under the nose. And if I'm not perfect, what will people say? Chin point. And maybe there's part of me that doesn't want to set myself up to fail in front of others. Collarbone point, because that would feel so humiliating. And my inner voice would say, told you so. Under the arm. But I really don't want this imposter syndrome because it's holding me back. Top of the head. And being in business just feels so hard sometimes. So many things to overcome. So many things to learn, so many things to do, so many things to be. Eyebrow point. But I really don't want to give up on my dreams. Side of the eye. I don't want to give up on all those goals and dreams that I have just because of a fear or perhaps a need to be safe. Under the eye. And it's kind of reassuring to know that so many other people have struggled with imposter syndrome. It's not just me. Under the nose. So many famous people, celebrities, entrepreneurs, they all talk about having imposter syndrome. It's completely normal. Chin point. And if it's possible for other people to overcome it, then maybe it's possible that I can do that as well. Collarbone point. So if I start to believe that it's possible, maybe the first step is believing in myself a little bit more. Under the arm, believing in my abilities, my talents and my gifts. Top of the head, and knowing that if I was really a fraud, if I really was fake, if I was faking it, if I was an imposter, would I really be here tapping right now? No. No, I wouldn't. Eyebrow point. And do I look at other people and think, oh, they're an imposter, they're a fraud, I'm going to call them out? Unlikely. Side of the eye. And maybe some of this judgment actually isn't coming from other people at all. It's coming from me. Maybe I'm my own worst critic and judge. Under the eye. Maybe I'm listening to that inner narrative and believing it to be true, believing it to be fact. But I know it's not fact. Under the nose. So I'm just accepting myself and forgiving myself for feeling that way. It's okay. Chin point. And actually I can trust that imposter syndrome is actually just me growing. It's a process of growth. And it's okay. Collarbone point. Knowing that I'm worthy and deserving just as much as anybody else. Under the arm. I have the same right to do the things that I love to do, just as everybody else does. Top of the head. And to let this imposter syndrome shrink me, or keep me small, or cause me to give up, would be such a disservice. It would be such a tragedy. Eyebrow point. And thinking about it, I have so much evidence that I'm doing a really good job. I've got feedback, testimonials, really positive things people have said about what I do. Side of the eye. And I don't have all the answers to everything. Just as nobody else has all the answers to everything. Under the eye. And I would never expect them to. And I can know that sometimes even doctors look things up on Google whilst you're still sat in the same room as them. Under the nose. And if there are gaps in my knowledge, that's okay too. Because human beings are really, really good at learning stuff. Chin point. I am doing great work. I am not a fraud. Collarbone point. I'm genuine and I'm a perfectly imperfect human being. Perfectly imperfect. Definitely not a fraud. Under the arm. And just reminding myself that I am enough. I am enough just the way I am. I always have been enough. I always will be enough. Just the way I am. Top of the head. So just letting go of all this self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Just remembering that when it comes up, it means that I'm growing. And I can grow through that discomfort. And just keep on reminding myself that I'm worthy and deserving no matter what happens. Okay, just stop tapping there. Hand just on your chest. Nice deep breath in. And breathing out. And then like we did at the beginning, just re-checking in with yourself. So thinking about that incident or time over the past few weeks where you felt imposter syndrome really came up for you, really made you feel emotionally activated. Measuring that again on a scale of 1 to 10 and seeing how much that's come down by. And if it's gone up, stayed the same, or just come down by 1 or 2, that's completely okay. Try this tapping again. Really feel into it. Tap with your eyes closed if you need to. Switch any words out that don't feel quite right and wait until you start to see those shifts. The aim is always to get down to 0 where possible. I hope that you enjoyed this tapping on imposter syndrome. Just remember when it comes up, you can journal about these things, you can tap on these things, and just know that you are just as worthy as anyone else and you are enough just the way you are. Thank you for tapping with me. Bye.